There's our heart. There's our heart. So we can just open that pouch. So we got some fresh deer heart here from a whitetail that I actually harvested yesterday. First thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you actually how to clean up a deer heart. It's pretty simple. We're basically just going to take off the vascular part here, and then it's kind of akin to cleaning like a green pepper or something. We're basically going to slice into it. It's actually got 2 cavities. You know, pepper's got 1 cavity, but it's the same idea. We're going to cut into those cavities, and then we're going to lay out the heart. We're going to clean up some of the internal stuff in there that you'll see. It's got some kind of interesting anatomy to it, but we're going to clean all that up. We're going to get off any of this fat or any of this kind of tallowy stuff that's on the top here. We'll get rid of all that, and we'll clean it up. And then I'm going to cut it into thin pieces, kind of like fajita pieces. And then I'm going to fry it up with some butter and garlic and onions. And then we're going to throw in our chanterelles, and we'll give it a taste test. So the first thing I'm going to do here, you can see at this part of the heart here, I'm just going to actually just take the whole top of the heart off. There's not a lot there for us to eat. See, it's got all these are the big arteries and stuff. So that's all going to go. And there's always kind of this congealed blood inside the heart. So once we get it opened up, we'll wash it off. So here you can see there's basically 2 main cavities, one here, one here. We're going to get into that cavity there. And then I like to just spread the heart out, kind of just like the same way that at least I clean a green pepper. We're just going to lay that section of the heart out, and then here I can cut into the other cavity, and I'll end up with another section. And then what you can do, flatten that puppy out there, is there's kind of this wall in between, and this is perfectly edible. So I'm going to cut it off just flat, and we'll take care of that as a separate piece. So all this stuff here, this coagulated blood, you want to get rid of that. That's not going to taste good, so I'll just wash that off. All right, so you can see I cleaned all that up, and you want to get those little pieces out. The blood, particularly for us Americans, where we don't eat like blood pudding or anything, blood for sure has a taste to it. It seems to be particularly the case with game. And that actually kind of goes for mammals and fish. You want to get rid of like the bloodline in fish too. Trim off little things like this. This little piece here, I'm just going to kind of butterfly it. All this stuff here, you can do it with fillet knife and it'll be even easier, but you really want to get this off. That fat on the heart's almost like a wax, it seems like. You just want to get rid of all this structured stuff. Basically pretty clean there. And then all you want to do is think about like the slices of like fajita meat is what you're looking for. This is what I look for here. Heart is pretty chewy. So don't worry too much about cutting it fairly thin. Okay, so there's your heart. Now that you have it all cut apart, you can give it one last look for just little pieces of fat or whatever, but this is pretty darn clean. So at this point, people have all sorts of magic things they put on heart, but I actually like the taste of heart. So does my wife, and so do a lot of people. It just, to me, it tastes good. It doesn't matter really what it's off of, what kind of game animal or even domestic beef. Heart, to me, tastes good, so I don't really want to mess with the flavor too much. So I'm just going to use salt and pepper. I mean, I put a fair amount on it, but nothing crazy. And then it's going to get a little seasoning, obviously, from the onions and the garlic, too, that it's going to be cooked with. Okay, so once we got salt and pepper on it, just mix it up so you get it all covering the heart. And so now we're ready to get this stuff into the frying pan. So throw some butter in here. And I'll just get that warming up, and then I'll actually add a little olive oil so I can get it a little bit hotter than I typically would just with butter. The olive oil will make it so the butter won't burn so quickly. So I'll just add a little olive oil too. Throw some onions in here, garlic. Get that cooking in the oil. So we've got to cook all the meat still, and then we still got to warm up the chanterelles with the deer heart. So you don't really want to get these onions completely cooked. I'm just going to cook them in the oil a little bit to flavor the oil, and then I'm going to pull them out in here, and then I'm going to brown that meat and get it probably 80% cooked, and then add them back when I add in the chanterelles. So we don't get like mushy kind of soggy onions that we're cooking all this, and we want them to keep their structure a little bit. And you're not going to get out like every piece, but you can get out most of it. So on the deer heart, spread it out in here. And really I'm just going to brown the deer heart and kind of burn off some of the liquid that's in there and that comes out of the heart. Like I mentioned, like the analogy would be fajitas, and that's the sense that fajitas, particularly in cast iron, they'll get kind of like a little bit of a char to it, I guess you'd say. I actually like that on heart too, and the only way you're going to get that is if you burn off some of the liquid. You don't want the heart just to be sitting in a bunch of liquid and kind of like simmering. That's not what you're going for. At least that's not what I'm going for, because I like that kind of charred taste that you get from a really hot pan. So while that's getting hot and burning off that liquid, I'm gonna go ahead and get our chanterelles. So these are the chanterelles we made earlier. So the mushrooms are gonna introduce a bunch of liquid, so you really do want to get this kind of burn off. Depending on how you like your onions, you put some back in here and start getting them cooked off. Turn it down a little bit. Add our chanterelles. That's really all there is to it. Because all you're doing with those chanterelles, now that they're already cooked, is you're just gonna warm them up. That was good. So there it is. So here's the finished product. One last look, Amy, before we gobble it up. Chanterelles and white-tailed deer, all stuff that we went out and either picked or hunted. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. In the future, I'm going to do more of these kind of foraging and hunting, catch, clean, cook type of videos, so stay tuned. Thanks, guys.